Hey, I'm Tu Quoque, and welcome to the channel. Ever had someone ignore your argument and attack you personally? That's the ad hominem fallacy, Latin for to the person. Instead of debating ideas, it targets the person making them, derailing real discussion. Today, we'll break down 3 common types: the personal attack, circumstantial ad hominem, and the Tu Quoque fallacy. We'll see examples, learn to spot them, and keep our conversations focused on ideas, not insults. Ready to sharpen your critical thinking skills? Let's get started. Let's start with the most obvious ad hominem, the personal attack. This is the classic move where, instead of engaging with someone's actual argument, a person goes straight for the jugular and targets the individual making the point. It's a tactic as old as debate itself, and unfortunately, it's still incredibly common in workplaces, politics, and even casual conversations. Rather than discussing the merits of a proposal, someone might say, "You're just a socialist who hates cars," or "You always have these crazy ideas," completely sidestepping the actual issue. These kinds of comments are designed to put the other person on the defensive, making it harder for them to respond rationally. This tactic is lazy and derails meaningful debate. It shifts the focus from ideas to personalities, and once that happens, it's almost impossible to have a productive conversation. It's always easier to throw an insult than to actually engage with evidence or logic. Personal attacks require no research, no understanding, and no effort to see the other side. But here's the thing: a person's character, background, or even their past mistakes don't determine whether their argument is true or false. The truth of an idea stands on its own, regardless of who says it. Even someone with a reputation for dishonesty can state a fact. The source doesn't change the evidence. The real danger of personal attacks is that they raise emotions and escalate conflict. When people feel attacked, they stop listening and start defending themselves, making any kind of productive conversation nearly impossible. If you find yourself on the receiving end of a personal attack, don't take the bait. It's tempting to fire back, but that only drags the conversation further off course. Instead, calmly steer the conversation back to the actual argument. You might say, "Let's focus on the proposal itself," or "Can we talk about the facts instead of personal opinions?" This approach keeps the discussion on track and often reveals when someone doesn't have a real counter-argument. They're just trying to distract from the issue. Remember, the purpose of debate is to test ideas, not to tear down people. When we focus on arguments instead of personalities, everyone learns and the best ideas win. Spotting and refusing to engage with personal attacks protects the integrity of any discussion. It sets a higher standard for everyone involved. Insist on substance over insults. If someone tries to drag the conversation into the mud, don't follow them there. The personal attack is a red flag. When you see it, recognize it for what it is and redirect to the real issue at hand. That's how you keep debates honest, productive, and focused on what really matters: the strength of the ideas themselves. Now let's move on to a sneakier version of the ad hominem, one that's harder to spot but just as damaging. Next up is the circumstantial ad hominem, one of the most common ways people try to undermine an argument before it even gets a fair hearing. This tactic is often called poisoning the well because it tries to taint everything someone says by focusing on who they are rather than what they are actually saying. Instead of addressing the actual points being made, this fallacy attacks someone's motives, background, or personal circumstances. It's a way of saying, don't trust them because of who they are or what they represent, rather than engaging with their reasoning. For example, you might hear, "Of course you'd say that, you work for the company." The implication is that the person's job automatically makes their argument invalid, without even considering the content of what they're saying. Now, it's true that bias and personal interest can influence someone's perspective. It's smart to be aware of potential conflicts of interest. But just because someone has a stake in the outcome doesn't mean their argument is automatically wrong or untrustworthy. The facts, evidence, and logic behind an argument stand or fall on their own merits, regardless of who presents them. Even people with strong opinions or personal interests can make valid, well-supported points. Dismissing arguments solely because of someone's circumstances is a shortcut that avoids real thinking. It's easier to reject a person than to wrestle with their ideas, but that means missing out on potentially valuable insights. Healthy skepticism means examining the evidence and reasoning behind a claim, not just rejecting ideas because of who says them. It's about being curious and open-minded, not cynical or dismissive. For instance, If a wealthy person argues for tax cuts, their wealth might be relevant context, but it doesn't automatically prove their argument wrong. The real question is, what reasons and evidence do they offer? If we dismissed every argument from someone with a stake in the issue, we'd have no one left to listen to. Everyone has experiences, backgrounds, and interests that shape their views. The key is to separate the person from the point. Focus on the substance of what's being said, not just the identity of the speaker. Acknowledge bias where it exists, but don't let it distract you from evaluating the argument itself. Ask yourself, does the evidence hold up regardless of who's presenting it? When you hear, "You only believe that because you're a label," recognize that this is a logical fallacy. It's an attempt to shut down discussion, not to engage with the actual ideas. A better response is to ask, "Can you walk me through your evidence?" This invites real conversation and helps everyone get closer to the truth. Keep the focus on substance, not circumstance. Challenge ideas, not identities. That's how you avoid poisoning the well and keep conversations open, respectful, and productive. Now let's tackle the hypocrisy trap. The Tu Quoque fallacy, Latin for you too, is a classic move in arguments. Instead of addressing the actual point, someone tries to dodge criticism by accusing the other person of being a hypocrite. It's a clever distraction, but it doesn't actually answer the argument at hand. For example, imagine a dad telling his daughter, "Don't smoke, it's unhealthy. It can seriously damage your lungs and lead to lifelong health problems." The daughter shoots back, "But you smoked for years when you were younger. Why should I listen to you?" Her dad's past choices don't change the facts about smoking. The health risks remain the same, no matter who delivers the message. This fallacy shifts the focus away from the real issue, like the dangers of smoking, and puts the spotlight on the person's inconsistency instead. Another common example, a celebrity who travels by private jet but speaks out about climate change and reducing carbon emissions. Critics are quick to shout "hypocrite" and dismiss the message, but the science about climate change stands, regardless of who's talking about it or how they live their life. Pointing out hypocrisy can feel satisfying, almost like you've won the argument. But in reality, it's just a way to avoid dealing with the actual evidence or reasoning being presented. It's possible to recognize someone's inconsistency and still engage with their point. You can say, "Yes, you may not always practice what you preach, but let's talk about whether your argument is true or not." If you're accused of hypocrisy, you can respond honestly, "I've made mistakes, but let's focus on the facts and what's right moving forward." This approach neutralizes the personal attack and brings the conversation back to the real issue, where it belongs. Remember, arguments themselves aren't people. They can't be hypocritical. Only people can be inconsistent. But that doesn't automatically make their arguments false. The truth or falsehood of an idea depends on evidence and logic, not on the speaker's personal history or behavior. Don't let the "you too" trap distract you from what really matters. Stay focused on the argument itself, and don't get sidetracked by personal attacks. The best debates are about the strength of the ideas, not the flaws of the people presenting them. That's how you move past deflection, keep the conversation productive, and get to the heart of the issue. Let's wrap up. We've explored the ad hominem fallacy, from personal attacks to poisoned wells to hypocrisy traps. The common thread? Shifting focus from ideas to people. Spotting these fallacies is key to clearer thinking and better conversations. When you filter out ad hominem attacks, you can focus on logic and evidence. Let's challenge ourselves to debate ideas, not attack individuals. By leaving ad hominem behind, we create space for real understanding. Thanks for watching.